Hello, Tungsten Miner here. Today I thought I'd talk about power. Of course, once you've got yourself situated with some place safe to sleep and some food, you start trying to get into your different mods, and most of them require power of some kind or another. In this mod pack, I've settled on using Redstone Flux, the thermal expansion power system. And I've got a number of different mods that allow you to generate power. Of course, thermal expansion has a bunch of things, but what I actually start off with usually are these Immersive Engineering water wheels. All you need is a bunch of wood, some creosote, and you can make yourself a really reliable, infinite source of power with no fuel required, which of course is one of the main attractions. They are a little tricky to set up, but once you've got them going, endless power with no fuel and no requirements. So the first thing to note is that you need to start with some creosote. I use the Railcraft coke oven to get mine, but anything that produces creosote is fine, including, of course, Immersive Engineering's own coke oven. The next thing to do is to take a look at this recipe, which is really straightforward, just sticks and wood, really. We want the water wheel. There we are. So treated wood planks, and this is just wood with some creosote soaked into it. So wood, 1 bucket of creosote at the center gives you back your 8 wood planks. And then these water wheel segments are made with just sticks and treated wood. Treated sticks and treated wood, that is. And you make a bunch of them, you get 1 wheel. If you keep going, as I've done, you wind up with up to 3 wheels on 1 spindle. And since I wanted more power than that would give me, I went ahead and made another 3. So I've got a total of 6 water wheels. The next thing to do is add the water. Now you can see here at the top of this, I've got 1, 2, 3 water source blocks, because this is 3 blocks wide. So 1, 2, 3 water source blocks at the top, and that creates all the rest of this, which is just flowing water blocks. Now, water tends to go everywhere in Minecraft, so I made this channel first for it to flow down so it stays nice and evenly moving over the water wheel. And what you want to do is get as many flowing water blocks as you can next to the water wheel. So here I've got the one on the top, that flows to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I have this little step, because I don't want the water to flow back there and get away from the wheel. So that makes it 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the water flows down into this chasm. The more moving water you have next to your water wheel, the faster it's going to go. The faster it goes, the more power it creates. So when you set up your water wheel, make sure to have it tuck back underneath, because you'll get those extra 5 or 6 blocks of contact with your water wheel, and that will make it go a whole lot faster. So where does this power go? Well, here I've got a Kinetic Dynamo attached to this, and let's take a quick look at the recipe for that. That's this guy. So you need some iron, some redstone, copper wire, and that's it. So again, something that should be pretty easy to make pretty early in the game. And then you just need to draw off the power. So you might use Immersive Engineering's wiring system to draw the power away. In my case, I've decided to go with BuildCraft pipes because they don't lose power over distance. So my emerald pipe draws the power out, the gold pipes move it around, and that goes off into the rest of my power system. So let's take a little walk and find out where this goes. Now you'll notice I've got 2 sets of pipes down here. One is tinted red and one is tinted blue. The way you do that is when you're making your pipes, of course, the recipe is just 2 gold ingots and then your glass in between. Just start with colored glass and you'll get colored pipes. And the reason to do that is right over here. You can see I've got 2 sets of pipes that aren't connecting to each other. If they're different colored glass, they won't interact, a lot like a lot of the other BuildCraft pipes. Now, the reason for this is my red pipes are connected to sources of power, and they all flow around to where I store all my power in different thermal expansion power cells. So if we follow this along, we'll see, here we are, 2 power cells. And here's the other side of that other water wheel. So I can walk over here. See, here's the second water wheel. We just walked around in a circle and came back. Another kinetic dynamo, and this one is close enough where it's pumping power in as it gets drained out. So the power comes in on the red side, goes into the storage cells. This storage cell stores 20 million RF. This one stores 80 million RF. And on the other side, the power comes out. So I've got this guy configured so that power comes in on the right-hand side as you're facing it. So if we're standing here, power is coming in on the right-hand side, and it's going out at the bottom. So any power coming into this top energy cell is just going to flow through to the bottom energy cell. And this guy, of course, is accepting power from the top and also from the right, and allowing power to go out on the left, which is where this emerald pipe is drawing power out. And of course, this emerald pipe is tinted blue because now this is where the power gets output. All the blue pipes are output pipes. So this comes around and goes back through this little service tunnel I've got here. And again, right through the floor, off in this direction. This rusty ladder is from Melissa's doors, leading up to this fancy hatch. And the power pipes now are going through the floor here and ultimately come over here. So here we see them coming in from the shed and the power plant back that way, and actually moving into what turns out to be a low voltage capacitor from Immersive Engineering. Because under this second hatch, I've got my powered lantern. So the powered lantern prevents mobs from spawning, but being that it's an Immersive Engineering device, it wants to connect to wires. So I have this one wire going back to that low voltage capacitor. Here we go. And that's why I need a low voltage capacitor there. And then the power also goes up into this little panel on the wall here, and then winds up going off to the left and to the right to power the rest of the house. So put this back together. So let's go upstairs and take a look at where this power gets used. Okay, here we are in the main room, and this is where the power comes up, just underneath the wall over here, and heads off to this direction, and winds up coming up through the wall on this side. So I can pull this panel off and we can see back in the wall there. That's where it's coming up from the basement. And of course, all these machines are my gendistry machines, thermal expansion furnace, and just a regular centrifuge for dealing with combs and things from bees. Now these can draw a lot of power, so that's why I wound up going with the golden pipe all throughout the house. Anywhere along the line, if I had a pipe that could carry less power, then now, of course, I'd be limited by that much power. So golden pipe can carry 2,500 RF per tick, which is a decent amount. Most of these machines don't draw that much, so gold is a good choice, and diamond is very expensive, which is the only thing that's better. Okay, so the other place that power winds up going is upstairs here. On this side, I've got my RF tools. So the power is coming up that same wall. We're standing directly above the centrifuge now. And we can see it comes up the wall and spreads out to go to the matter receiver, the matter transmitter, and even along the floor to go off to the other RF tools machines. And this is the one place where my power system may actually not be powerful enough. This machine is what runs the RF tools dimensions. And the dimensions can vary quite a lot in their power requirements. If you don't have too many things specified, then a couple of tens of RF per tick is all. The world I've been playing in most recently is 51 RF per tick. But if you start specifying exactly what you want and specifying things like, oh, I want caves made out of diamond ore, that's going to get expensive, and your requirements will get into the many thousands of RF per tick, which of course is a lot bigger than my 2,500 RF per tick. So if I had such a world, I'd need to upgrade my power system in order to avoid being caught in a dimension that winds up getting unpowered. Power goes up the other side too and heads over here to my computer room. So the power just goes along the wall there. And then upstairs, one more story, I've got my powered tools room over on this side here, where the power comes in over here. Now, like I said, the power is coming up through some pipes in the wall here. So here we are standing at the top, and you can see all the way down, it's hollow, straight to the basement. And that's what lets my power get all the way up here to all of my various crafting machines and tools and things. But I can't generate all that much power with just my 2 water wheels. I need a lot more power for the Gendustry stuff and a lot more power for the RF tools stuff. So now let's head back outside and take a look at where all that power is coming from. Okay, back to the water wheels. And off on the left-hand side, I've got my power plant. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of how I set this all up. That will be a video all by itself. But what I do want to show off is how the power systems interact. So obviously, big old reactor can generate a lot of power very rapidly. And here I've got some red pipe that's going to draw the power off when I need it from the reactor. But I don't want it to run all the time. You'll notice there's no power coming out of it right now. The problem is that big reactors burn up fuel constantly, even if they're on very, very low power. If you've got it on, it's using fuel. I don't want that because my water wheels generate enough fuel for my normal sorts of activities. Powered lanterns and, occasionally centrifuging some honeycombs and stuff like that. So this is set up with an iron ore gate. And you probably noticed this before, and I didn't talk about it, so let's get on to that now. The iron ore gate has 2 settings. If the power gets all the way to the top, it's going to flip on the blue pipe signal. And that'll stay on until the power gets all the way to the bottom, in which case it'll turn off the blue pipe signal and turn on the red pipe signal. So right now the blue one is on because this is full. If I were to do something that used up a lot of power, this red pipe signal back here would turn on instead. Now these 2 signals follow the pipes through the floor, down underneath there, and over onto this side here, where we can see there's another iron ore gate. This one's set up so that when the blue signal is on, that is when things are full, it closes this pipe, doesn't let power flow through the pipe. And when the red signal's on, it opens the pipe. And once it's closed, it stays closed until something opens it. And when it's open, it stays open until something closes it. So this is kind of like a toggle switch. And the importance of that is that I'm not drawing power from the reactor unless that top box gets empty. In which case, it opens up the floodgates, turns on the reactor, but now I've got 20 million RF to fill up. So it's worthwhile to start up the reactor and get the cost of getting it hot. And then once this thing fills up again, the signals switch, our gates trade places, and the pipe closes. And then this thing will keep going for a little bit to fill up its internal reservoir and then shut itself off. So, lots of cool power stuff. This means that basically I've got all the power I need for everything that I've been doing so far. Looks like I've made a friend. Get you out of here. So I've got all the power I need for ordinary activities from my water wheels, and I've got all the power I need for my unusual activities from the big reactor's power plant. So let's talk a little bit about architecture. Obviously, one of the things that's important to me is that things look nice and orderly and somewhat realistic. So I wanted to create some water courses here. I started with cyan stained glass, just regular stained glass, and used the microblocks mod to cut it into panels, so into fourths. And then made this whole wall out of those. And used dacite cut into panels and strips and pillars to make this fence or kind of container for it, a little bit of structural support. And I even have kind of a little partition down here. You don't step inside. On the top, I've got the watercourse itself made from slabs and pillars, so that they're half thickness blocks. And then underneath, I've got full-size dacite slabs. Now, of course, in Minecraft, you'll see these dripping water bits whenever there's less than 2 meters filling up some space with water on top. And I actually kind of liked the effect. I was going to try and do something about it, but I decided I kind of liked it. You'd imagine underneath an aqueduct, there's always a little bit of leakage, and so it kind of makes a certain amount of sense that there's dripping underneath there. This is just dacite to make kind of a cement pillar. I like dacite because it looks a lot like cement. You don't have to do a lot of work to get it. You just go dig it up wherever you can find it. And the back, I've used the same panels to make an enclosed space. So the water is coming from this stream that I created, which comes itself from this waterfall, which follows this little closed-in stream bed, which comes from this little pond. And I imagine this is kind of an aquifer that's sort of bubbling up and coming out from the hill. Now, of course, none of this is really necessary. The Waterwheels will work just as well with one water source block at the top of it. And it actually doesn't even really care about that. All it really cares about is the flowing water blocks. So none of this is really necessary. But I love the way it looks, and I love the sense of realism and reality that it brings. You know, of course, a water wheel is going to have a big source of water to continuously maintain the flow. And so I've provided myself with one and put the source of it far enough back out of mind where I don't have to worry that it's Minecraft and doesn't really work that way, and that's all fine. The water then finally winds up going down into this chasm I created, landing in this circular pool all the way down here. And I actually use this as a little bit of a mine to get some of the dacite that I need in red granite for different things. This also winds up being a pretty decent squid spawner. They spawn in the flowing water and then kind of drop down. If I were to hang out long enough, I expect I'd start seeing some coming down. But that's kind of boring to wait for, so up we go. Have I mentioned how handy it is to have a jetpack? Really super handy. Anyway, that's my power system. 2 water wheels, a big reactor, a couple of energy cells from thermal expansion, and a little bit of clever pipe work to make it so that all of the flowing power coming in winds up in the storage system, and then all of the power going out comes from the storage system. As always, if there's something you saw that I didn't talk about enough, or something you're curious about, or have questions on how I did something, feel free to leave some comments underneath. If there's a topic you'd like to see me cover in a future video, the same. Otherwise, talk to you later.